Adam, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate you being here because you and I have been in the same industry for many, many years, and we both supported each other for so long. And it's just an incredible honor to have you on as a guest, man.
Well, likewise. And I also appreciate you got a proper setup over there. I can't even tell you how many shows I go on. I'm like, invest a little into I mean, listen, you don't have to have a full blown, roadcast. We were just playing with the roadcaster, we got all the sound effects here and everything, but do it right, because your audience's experience is what it's all about. And happy to be here, happy to chat.
Yeah, man. This I can't take the credit for it. This was my kids' idea. They said, "Dad, why don't we put some floor tiles on the wall?" And I looked at them cross-eyed, like, "What?" But it turned out great. So,
it's funny you say that. I should check what I have left over from a recent home improvement project. This wall's like a year and a half old. I'm getting kind of tired of it. I've been thinking of like that slat walls. Have you seen those slat walls they put up?
Yeah.
I'm gonna get there. Maybe next.
Those are great for the sound.
Next contingency deal I put through all.
You heard it here first in the next season of the podcast.
Yes. season 6. We'll get there.
That's incredible, man. Season 6. I mean,
I don't have seasons. I just made that up. I really don't.
Oh, you made that
up.
Okay.
I actually tried seasons in the beginning. I did the show's been on for 5 years, and I was like, I don't know where the delineation is. Like, is it a year? Is it like? And I said, screw seasons. Like, it's just one show, one continuous.
And it just keeps going all year, right? Your show.
It doesn't stop. I've put out a new episode every week for 5 years. Do the math on that.
Yeah,
gets it around 320. And I've re-aired best of, done live shows. I mean, I don't record a single episode every week and edit and record it. I batch record.
Yeah, of course.
So, and there's times when I purposely schedule 3, 4, 5 week breaks in between shows because I have that many in advance where I could do that. And it gives me the ability to focus on work, vacation, family. I do it a lot in the summertime when I'm just not interested in recording or doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of just figure out your system, whatever works for you.
That's interesting too, because I was talking to someone who is also in the podcast realm, and I said, how do you work around timeliness? If someone has a book that's coming out, you've kind of got to slot them in before the book launch, right? You can't have them go 4 or 5 months out. No. So there's a lot of puzzle pieces to manage in doing this. And I'm still brand new. So
it's interesting too. Like when you think about somebody that has something timely, you're also managing their expectations as far as when you're scheduling it, when their book or whatever is going to release, and saying, hey, listen, I could get it out within like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I have to bump some other people, and you also have to prioritize.
Yeah.
Like, what is the relevance of that guest to my audience and to my business? And I talk about it all the time. My show is a business development tool, which is relevant to your show here. So if it's an A-list guest and they have something to promote, you better believe I'm bumping somebody else out of there.
Yeah.
And it's only like a week or so. No one's even going to notice it on the back end.
No,
but there is a limit. My limit is really, I try to be at that 6-7 weeks at the most.
That's kind of the benchmark that you keep.
Because after that, also the guest doesn't feel relevant anymore. Like, I completely forgot I was on your show. I forgot that we even recorded it. They may be less inclined to share it.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's a. I mean, we're getting a little technical in the weeds here, but there's a strategy to the release.
Mm-hmm.
You got to figure it out.
And we can't just take the career, but that doesn't happen anymore. So we need to understand that to maintain the lifestyles for our entire families, we have to kind of diversify. And I wanted to dive into the motivations. You came from a corporate world as well. What kind of flipped the script for you to where you said, you know what? I know enough. I've built enough. Let me go out and do this on my own.
It's a fascinating question. And I always tell people, I wouldn't be and couldn't be where I am now at 22 years old. There's no way. I needed that experience. I needed to work for corporations. I needed to work for agencies. I needed to work for leaders and understand and get that foundation, the marketing principles, the discipline, all those pieces that you need for a business. Now, that's not to say that there's a ton of insanely successful 19, 20-year-olds out there, but they're the exception. They're not the rule.
Right.
And yes, entrepreneurship these days is learned through, YouTube, TikTok, and osmosis and every other way possible. But there's really no replacement for actual life experience. And now I sound like the freaking boomer here on the show, but I mean it, right? Yes, there's an element to what I do is, F around and find out. I figure things out all the time. Yeah, I'm building this airplane as I fly it here. Yeah. But you and I, we have foundations. We have the fundamentals. I understand process, systems, project management, account management. Those are all things that I need to be successful in my job. And I couldn't have done that without the experience. So that's kind of my mindset on this.
That's so true too. And to jump in on the boomer type of thing, because I always look to, I'm 47, right? So I'm always looking
I'm right
to what are
behind
the
you.
new and fresh ideas,
Yeah.
right? So I'll look to the young creator economy that, the people that are touting, oh, I'm making $30,000 months, which is not all the time the case, people, just so you understand that.
Yeah.
A lot of it's fake.
Optics.
Yeah, exactly.
Optics.
But there is a lot to be learned from them because they understand the digital era differently than we do.
They're digital native. They grew up on this.
Yeah. And they're much quicker at it.
Oh, yeah.
But the one thing I've always respected is I have this innate ability that I don't really care if I break something because it can always be fixed. So trying these new systems, trying these new ideas, and just, you know what, if it breaks or it doesn't work, so tomorrow will be here. The world still keeps spinning.
Yeah, give it a shot.
Yeah, you got to just start. So that you came into this kind of fearful, like many people, but the old saying goes, and it's such a cliche saying, but everything you ever wanted was on the other side of fear.
It's
I
true.
hate it, but I love it.
Yeah.
So when you jumped into this and you decided to go all in on yourself and bet on yourself, what was the mind motivator or the mindset that you had that really kept you?
Yeah, it's a great question. Just to rewind the story for everybody, because I think context is necessary. First 15 years of my career, born and raised in New York, or 15 years of my career working in advertising and marketing here in New York, account management, digital strategy. I work client side, American Express, Sirius XM. So I have a deep corporate background. Small agencies, big agencies. I have that. Last stop before I pivot into recruiting, I was working for Gary Vee over at VaynerMedia. Everyone knows the story. Didn't go as planned. 7 months in, I got fired, and that was really the I call that my self-awareness epiphany, where I really had to say, who am like, real introspective shit here. It's like, who am I? What am I doing? What do I want to be doing? And it was a perfect time. It was an absolutely perfect time for me to do that. And it was tough. It was hard. And I knew I had to change. I knew I had to do something different. I knew that I needed to not be stuck in the place of failure that I've been in for the last few years, this kind of cycle of failure. And they also need to make more money, Chris, to be honest with you. We just moved out to the burbs and they're expensive, cars, insurance, all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah.
And
that's the driver.
Recruiting, money, listen, straight up. I don't care what anyone says. Money. Yes, you have to find your why, your purpose, all that kind of Simon Sinek bullshit. But at the end of the day, where am I going to be able to make the intersection of happy, money, life, joy, all that kind of stuff? And, recruiting, when I left Vayner, Gary's like, stop focusing on your weaknesses and double down on your strengths. And when you really think about it at this age, you have your 20s and 30s to figure it out and screw around. But by mid 30s, you should really kind of have a good idea of what you're good at and how you can monetize that. And for me, that was recruiting. I've got the gift of gab, relationships out the wazoo. I have a strong business and entrepreneurial sense. And I saw the opportunity, the upside to make a ton of money or have unlimited earning potential. Let me put it that way. Right? Because when you're in corporate America, the only way you're going to get more than a 3-4% raise these days is to switch jobs. And who really wants to? You don't want to. No one loves to do that. It's scary. It's like it's nerve wracking. You built up relationship equity, and you're comfortable in a place, and you're like, damn, you're not paying me enough. Now I have to go look for a new job. That's a whole other conversation. But where did I get this fear from? I think it was kind of I was unleashed. I always had it inside of me, Chris, and there's something about working for yourself. And I say this all the time. If you can't go out and hunt and kill what you eat, literally, figuratively, you're not going to survive as an entrepreneur.
1,000%.
If you can't rely on not having a constant paycheck, if you can't rely on having your foot down on business development and execution at the same time, you're not going to survive at this. And I think that's key for me because that lit a fire inside of me that was there, kind of like a silent, waiting to be lit fire. And it hasn't gone out and it's only gotten bigger. And that's what drives me. I love the thrill of the hunt. I love the game. I love closing big deals. I love building relationships and turning those into money. I mean, straight up.
Yeah.
But for me, it's a win-win, right? I love when it's a win-win. I love when both sides win. It doesn't have to be either or. And, that's kind of what it's all about for me.
Yeah. And just to piggyback off of that too, in recruiting, I don't want to give people the wrong idea that, it's always upside. There is some really detrimental hits that you take, being a recruiter myself for, 10 years now. I can't believe I just said that. But There's some downtimes too when you lose an offer over really peanuts. I mean, $5,000 away in a salary, and somebody walks away.
And those X factors that you can't even. I mean, we could tell war stories for days. I mean, I have some awful ones.
Yeah, they're just they're damaging. But for me, it was really the fear that was the motivator. I mean, when I lost my job on Wall Street, I really thought I made it. I was like, yeah, working on Wall Street, and they made me fire my team, and then fired me 2 days later.
They made you fire.
Yeah, it was awful, man. There was a new VP that came in, and she just wanted the team gone. She wanted to bring some people in that were much more skilled. It's fine, I get it. But then 2 days later, I got axed, and it was that coming home moment where I call it the kitchen conversation, right? Where you come in, you sit at the island, you say to your wife, "Hey, hon, this is what happened today," and immediately the fear comes in. And it was at that moment that I said, "Well, what do I love to do?" And that's where I think you and I are talking and on the same page is monetize those skills. And I loved web design. So I opened up Invisiscope as a web design company and said, okay, I'll build people's dreams.
Let's figure it out.
Yeah. And just keep going. And then it just morphed into a private recruiting firm and then a career coaching business. And, there's been multiple failures throughout it. And I think that's the thing that people need to understand is the failure is where you really get the meat and potatoes of the knowledge.
They say that the treasures are in the shit pit. And I love that expression. I say it all the time because when you're at your lowest, I mean, there's no better foundation to build from than rock bottom.
Yeah.
Like when you have nothing. I mean, I look back on last year, 2023, and it was by far and away the worst business year of my life. Even going back to when I was working in corporate America, I mean, my business was down 70% year over year. The recalibration, the pausing in the industry, the trepidation, everything just stopped. There was no business coming in because if people are firing people, the last thing they need are recruiters, outside recruiters, to come in and help hire.
Yeah.
And it was just bad. It was brutal. And, I had to find other ways to monetize. And that's when I went deeper on the podcast monetization, developed the coaching angle, found other ways to try to make a buck here and there, sponsorships and other things. And, we scraped by and we made it. I truly believe, we survive 100% of our bad days, and it's resilience. And I think that's a true characteristic of entrepreneurs that doesn't get talked about enough. It's tenacity and resilience. Those two things go hand in hand together. They're cousins, and you put those two together and you're unstoppable. And you'll get through it.
Talk to me about that coaching element here because, I've been certified since 2018, and I recognized very early that why is coaching not part of recruiting? Why is it not an extension? It makes the most sense.
Oh, it should be.
And it's now becoming much more prevalent. I guess people started to realize how important this is, and the challenge component of it is where real talent development goes in. So what made you join into the coaching side?
Yeah, absolutely. So probably like you, every friend, relative, people on LinkedIn, like, hey, can I pick your brain? I have a few minutes.
Yeah.
I want to talk about my job search, my career and everything. So when I was busy, and recruiting, if we say we're busy, that means things are good. If we're not busy, things are bad. So during those times when I was busy and I was able to find a few minutes here and there, it never bothered me. I was like, all right, cool. I'm doing the right thing for people. And then when things are quiet and things are not moving, I'm like, why am I not charging for this? I have an expertise. And those conversations for me, yes, it's coaching, but for me, I consider it therapy. So I call it career therapy because while I do have systems and exercises and processes that we're going to talk about, I don't have a curriculum because each person is different. So the first thing for me is really listening, understanding who they are, where they're at in their career, what their issues are. And I want to instill confidence. I want to instill accountability. And then I want to give them the tools that they need. And the other side of it too is, why shouldn't I monetize my network and my relationships for people in a coaching perspective? If I'm working with someone and I believe in them and I think they're qualified, why shouldn't I open up my Rolodex and put people in front of people? Now, I'm not reverse recruiting. That's not like the main part of what I'm doing. But once I get folks to the right level with their resume and all their other pieces and their strategy, if they identify a company and I know people that work there, why wouldn't I connect them? That's what they're hiring me for. And that's how I position it. You're paying me for my network and me making introductions. No guarantees on that because A, I don't know if it's going to move it. And B, you have to freaking do the work and get the interview, right? Like you have to do it.
Absolutely
right? I could open the door for you, but you got to walk in.
And there's nothing evil about that by monetizing your expertise.
No, not that's what everybody does. That's what you should be doing. You're paying me for my years, not my, hours, as they like to say, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then the second light bulb went off when I started working with Kevin and Junaid. And Junaid is an expert in the resume side. Kevin's great with content and storytelling. And we said, 3 heads are better than one. Why don't we make this offering as a career coaching agency? When someone buys into us, they're getting the 3 of us at one set price. And then we built out the curriculum. Then we built out, all right, first you're starting with Junaid, get the resume down. Then you're going to Adam, and then you're going to Kevin, and then, back and forth and together. And we have it all kind of laid out where at the end of 30 days, you're good to go. The chicken's cooked, the goose is cooked, you're out the door.
That's a power team, man. Yeah, I don't know Junaid, but I met Kevin. I spoke back and forth with him, and he's just an incredible talent.
Yeah, he's a little brother to me. He's a special dude.
Yeah, he's awesome. I'm glad you're really going into the career coaching element because I think it's so wide. And the problem for that is too, it's a double-edged sword because now everybody and their mother comes out and says that I'm a career coach and I can help you out. And it's damaging.
It's damaging. There's a lot of snake oil people taking vulnerability, taking advantage of people.
Yes. I remember a few years ago, there was a person, I don't want to name any names, but a person on LinkedIn that put out a video on career advice. And as a recruiter and a career coach, I was listening to every piece of it and I'm like, man, you're taking advantage of families.
Mm-hmm.
You're damaging families. So I put a video up kind of counteracting that conversation. And it was amazing because that, there's those moments where you think like, oh, I don't want to put anything out there that's going to be too controversial because it'll hurt you. And I remember going out to dinner with my wife and my phone's exploding. And I'm going, what the hell's going on? I'll tell you what, that was that changeover moment. And I would tell a lot of the listeners, don't be afraid to be controversial with respect.
And you could back it up.
Yeah, and you can back it up.
That's a key thing. You got to be able to back talk your shit talk.
Yeah. Yeah, because there are so many people that are career coaches now and just giving horrible advice. They might mean well, and it might have worked for them.
But they've never been in our shoes.
No, they've never walked people through a hiring process.
So there's 2 sides of that, right? I think that there are some really great career coaches out there been doing this a long time that have never been in HR, TA, never even been a recruiter. They're the exception, not the rule.
Yeah.
Just because, right? Like just because you went through the job process, just because you got a great job, doesn't qualify you as a career coach. You have no clue the internal process. You have no clue how hiring managers think. You have no clue how the finance team calculates job offers and negotiations. That's what we're here for. You have no clue how an ATS works, right? The number one thing that people, bullshit on, like they know the ATS. Shit.
Yeah. The algorithms in there, and we have to look at them from the back end type of things. I prefer Loxo because I really enjoy Loxo. And the founder and owner of Loxo, I've talked to him quite a bit and said, so how does this work? And how do you pull from resumes and how do you get rid of a lot of the graphics that are in resumes, especially on the creative side? And there's a lot going on behind those systems that people just think it's very face value, and it's not.
No, and they also think listen, I just got back from Transform Vegas. I literally had Greenhouse on my show. I had Ashby on my show. The founders and the leaders. There is AI coming that's going to help with scoring and ranking, but the machine is not auto-rejecting anybody unless it's a knockout question. Are you a U.S. citizen? Do you have this specific certification, resume, government clearance, yada, yada, that are absolutely mandatory? Otherwise, it's not booting you out. Yes, they have ways now with AI to rank based on the resume. There's certain things that are in there. There's certain tools coming, organizational tools. But at the end of the day, it's a human. It's a human rejecting you.
And that resume, too, I talk a lot about Leonardo da Vinci being credited with writing the first resume. And if you look at his resume and translate it, and you take it for what it is, it's a marketing document. There are no standards and regulations around a resume. It's a marketing document.
What's going to be perceived the best? There's best practices.
Exactly. He took the words out of my mouth, man.
Yeah. That's what we do here.
So now the recruiting side of things, where do you see industries going, especially within tech? Tech has gotten a major slap in the face lately for tech employees. Where do you see that going?
So I think the modern contingency model is broken. I think it's old. I think it's flawed. I think whoever invented the first guarantee period was awful. They ruined it for everybody. And I say this all the time. Our job as an external recruiter, as an agency recruiter, is to source, screen, present a qualified candidate to the company. At that point, it's a company's responsibility to do their due diligence, to interview them, to go through the whole question and answer period so both sides feel comfortable about it, to extend an offer, to make an offer, to welcome them into a company, to onboard them properly, set them up for success. That has nothing to do with me. So why am I at fault
Let's
if you
also
fire
add in
them?
there in a timely manner.
Right? Like why, and we manage the process, but why am I at fault if you fire somebody within 60, 90 days or if they quit? Right? Like, how is that my responsibility that you didn't set them up for success? There's obviously
Right.
nuances within that, and there's exceptions there. And that's why I do replacement and not refund. You are paying me for my time regardless. I put in the work. This isn't a freebie. There's no refund on my time.
Wait a minute. So that I've not seen that. I mean, largely I've seen the replacement within a certain like 60 or 90
Yeah, we do
days,
replacement.
but I haven't seen refund. Wow, I haven't seen that in years. That's still active?
There's some people that give they give refunds. And I'm like, that is just using it. So if you're using that model to
Yeah,
your
you can't
competitive
take back
advantage,
the time.
you're betting against yourself. You're basically saying, hey, like there's two ways about it. They're like, I am so good. Like it's such a boisterous bullshit act. Like I am so confident in our abilities that we will guarantee this placement, 100% refund, money back guaranteed. That's just to close the deal. I don't position myself like that. I know my value, and we're going to hire somebody. We're going to work together on this. They're going to be great, hopefully. And for some reason they're not, I'm going to work with you to find a replacement. You're still paying for my time, and any time you're paying for is accounted by that money you've already given me.
And that's
Like,
not helping anybody on a partnership motion.
No.
I mean, anybody who knows, even in recruiting, when you're onboarding someone, and even if in a client, that partnership has to be based on a foundation that's understood between both parties. That's first and foremost.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, wow, that I didn't realize that was
think
still
about
around.
that mentality also. If you have a refund, you better believe that I'm going to have the mentality of try. You already set somebody up to have a try before you buy mentality. Right? Like it's like, you know what? Let's give Jim over there. Let's give him 85 days, and then we'll call Adam and tell him we fired him and get our money back. Like it's just poor business. It's just not the way to do things. If it was up to me, I would have nothing, and everything would be retained, RPO based. I'd rather have guaranteed money, be a partnership, hire me as a recruitment consultant, and that's what we do best here at NHP. Right? We come in, our clients trust us because we understand the process. We embed ourselves in their company, understand the roles, understand the business. Sometimes we take their email address as our own and we represent them in the marketplace.
I
I'd
love
rather
how
do
you
that.
said embed them.
Yeah.
You embed in your company, because a lot of recruiters say we're an extension of your HR team.
Embed.
Not necessarily. That means you're external. You don't understand our processes and internal procedures. But you saying that you embed yourselves into the organization,
right in.
As a hiring manager, that would give me a lot more comfort.
And you have a direct line, because otherwise it's pretty contentious between a hiring manager and an external recruiter. A lot of times they're not partnering, because usually they're also competing against an internal recruiter saying, hey, let me see if I can get somebody faster so we don't pay this jerk.
Yeah.
It's so stupid. The whole thing is flawed.
That's not a successful business model.
That the whole thing is flawed. That's why RPO and contract are great. Well, I take contingency for the right company, right move. Listen, you got to put icing on the cake, right? Those are home run swings.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm going to strike out a bunch, but when I hit it over the fence, it's going to count. And I get to, round the bases and collect $200. Like, pass go.
And you need the growth too. I mean, for you to build NHP, if you're doing that type of model where you're just trying to get the business, the partnerships are falling by the wayside. So the reputation in the industry is falling, to crap. And then to not have any growth because you're getting refunded money all the time, you're refunding, where are you going?
No.
Your company's never going to grow, and you're never going to gain a foothold in the industry.
No. And now we're competing against, again, just coming back from Transform, there are so many AI sourcing and outreach tools out there right now. So for me as a recruiter, I need to understand those tools and how to use them as a crutch. I'm sorry, use them as a tool and not a crutch.
Right.
That's the key difference there. If I'm relying on the AI stuff for sourcing and everything, I'm not doing my job. I'm losing the reason that I'm a recruiter and my skill set, the human touch of it. But when I use it as a tool to make me better, faster, more efficient, better recruiter, make sure I'm reaching out as many people as possible, that's when I'm cooking with fire. And that's when I can really scale myself.
And that's the key point, to tie it back into AI too. This feels like a 1993 moment. When the internet came out, everybody was all up in arms the same exact way. And I think AI is misrepresented in that it's not the Terminator. It's going to be a tool that 20 years down the road is going to open up new industries. There might be some jobs that are changed quite a bit, or some that even go away. But this is a tool to expand on business growth and revenue generation.
Yeah, I mean, AI is not going to, I don't think AI is going to replace everybody, but you better learn AI so you don't get replaced, right? Like it's one of those things where you know how to use it the right way and you're invaluable.
Yeah, especially now when it's at that inflection point.
Mhm.
I mean, anybody saw that Microsoft put $10 billion into something, and of course it's going to raise eyebrows. So every CEO was like, how do we put this into our products, goods, and services? So I think that was kind of the big shakeup too, because, I've been monitoring this industry for a long time, and I'm just a nerd when it comes to tech. And 22, 23 was supposed to be the year of AR, VR.
Mhm.
And OpenAI kind of jumped the gun, and now we had to push it back a year, and Microsoft jumped in. Now everything became AI, and they switched it over. Now you see, like, Apple released its what's it called, that Vision Pro thing. So now you see the AR VR jumps this year into next year. So I
That
think
was
it's
always on the
very
roadmap, though.
interesting. Yeah, it was always there. I mean, I think they were playing around with it since 2016, is what I heard. So I mean, none of these things just happen overnight. There's a lot of development.
No, I found my Google Cardboard glasses from South by 2015. They're my end table.
Cow.
Yeah.
I remember those. I think Nintendo pulled from that one too and tried to make.
I'm actually going to bring them in. I'm going to put them on my shelf. I meant to do that. I want to put it on my shelf of random things. It's great. My office here is my man cave. It's like if I had my room in college, it's out of my house. I rent an office space here, and I literally have all my man stuff here. I got my Shea Stadium seats over there, my Ghostbusters poster, my adult Legos over there. Like, this is my man cave, man. It's going in there.
Wait, did you just say you have a Ghostbusters poster?
Yeah, you can see it right.
That's fantastic.
You can't see it there. Well, it's kind of hidden over there.
Oh, yeah, I can see it back there.
It's there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, well, here's the deal. Here's the deal with that picture right there, and I'll send you a picture of that afterwards. This is Ghostbusters 1, and they just came in and they crushed. I think it was a library scene, and they're just entrepreneurs. Think about it. They're the first company started to bust ghosts, and everyone's like saying, "You guys suck. This is nothing.
Market
this is
leader.
fake." Right? You come in there, market innovator there, and in this photo here, they're just looking accomplished. They're proud that they just went in and busted some ghost ass, and they're like, "That's right. We're proud and we're together." And that's the reason I have that picture. It's one of my favorite movies, and those are the OG entrepreneurs right there. Don't mess with the Ghostbusters, man.
Man, I never heard anybody explain that scene in that depth. That was unbelievable.
Think about the visionary of these four guys right here, right? Think about their visionaries. They saw a need. Like, all these ghosts are taking over the city. White space opportunity. Somebody's got to do something about this. We're going to build a business. We're going to market ourselves. We have to build the tools because they're not created yet. The proton packs and the
Thank God for
traps.
Egon.
Right. Egon's right there. And and skill sets, right? Each one of those four dudes has a different skill set they bring for the teamwork perspective. It's like Ghostbusters, man. It's a business movie. Ghostbusters is a business. It should be taught in every business school.
And it doesn't hurt when you have a Sigourney Weaver on set just to bring that star power.
It doesn't. Rick Moranis. I mean, it's good, man. I mean, Ghostbusters 1 is top 10 movie of all time.
They're making another one too.
Yes,
right?
it's out. Yes, and I didn't love, and not because they were female. I just didn't love that movie, the female Ghostbusters one.
Oh, that was the one a couple years ago.
That I didn't love. I just didn't love the movie. And then the remake, the new one that came out 2 years ago, 3 years ago with Paul Rudd was fantastic. They really capture the essence of what Ghostbusters is all about. And they have the new one that I think that comes out in a couple of weeks, or it's out. I don't even know if it's out.
I think it's a couple of weeks because my kids saw it and was like, "Dad, you want to go see this?" And I saw most of the original cast, and I went, "Absolutely."
Yeah, they had. I was watching Jimmy Fallon the other night. They had Banks and Bill Murray on the show, and it was like, all right, let's do this. All right, they're bringing
Bill Murray is just amazing too, man. Talk about a guy that decided to make his own bones. I mean, he had a rough, from what I understand. I mean, Bill Murray had a rough life.
Sure did.
Before he started getting into acting, and his break. Speaking of back to entrepreneurship, his break was accidental. I think he was found, right after he got fired. It was like 20 minutes after he got fired. He was sitting on a park bench or something like that. I remember hearing the story, and then he just got picked up because somebody felt bad for him. And now he was one of the most legendary comics in history.
That's the way it works.
It's just unbelievable.
He was Chicago, I think Second City in Chicago and built it up. But anyway, back to your show. We digress.
I know, right?
It was a good. It was a good left turn though. I've never spoken about that and made that kind of connection. But looking at these guys here, I mean, that's why I have it on my wall here. It's huge too. It's like a
And it's a
4 foot by 3
tie-in,
foot poster here. Yeah.
it's a tie-in too, because of all the industries that are out there that you can jump into, my argument is I miss old Hollywood. Old Hollywood had a glitz and glamour that there was something to be aspired to. Now, a lot of them were nuts, don't get me wrong, and even to today, but I miss that glitz and glamour of an area of responsibility where everybody had a baseline ethic in Hollywood, where now and I'm not taking away from any of the creators because there's a lot of them I really, really like, but there's no baseline regulation of ethic. So people are all over the place. And I think it's important, we think back to those Hollywood eras and we look at some of these entrepreneurs that have become actors. That's still an area of expertise that you can look to kind of jump off, because not that it's easy, but there's a certain step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4 to get into that business. And the entrepreneurship journey of people that have lost their jobs and decide, okay, I got to go at it on my own. Because there's that moment of time after you lose your job that you think, oh my God, that's the last job I'm ever going to get. I'm not hireable. It's a split second type of thing most of the times. But there is that moment. And if you have a career path that's just step 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, that's going to get you to success, it makes it easier and it makes it much more easy to swallow. And I think we're seeing that more now today. I just think we need the overlay of old Hollywood to put that in there where people can aspire to that. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's an interesting perspective too, but I also think that I don't want to be the grumpy old man in the room saying, no, that's not how you do it. Right. And that's, and that's really what I try to do, is to be less rigid. And I think that's like the downfall of last year kind of tore away that safety net from me of saying, no, I have to do it this way. I have to do it that way. Now I just fuck around and find out. I don't give a shit. I take risks. I take more chances. I try things. I reach out to people. I take my shot. And I'm almost thankful for that. Listen, I know how to make money.
Yeah.
If I made a lot of money at one point, I know how to do it, and I'm going to do it again. My downturn last year was market driven. Wasn't Adam driven. Were there things I could have done better? Like, there were things I could have done better, obviously, Monday morning quarterback. But at the end of the day, Chris, like, I couldn't hire people and make money because there's no jobs. Like, it's supply demand. Yeah. It wasn't like, oh my God, there's all these jobs, they need recruiters, and I'm not getting any business. That's a problem. And now that things are picking back up and things are coming back in, I'm like, all right, reinforcing. But that downturn taught me to be resilient. It pushed me to mental areas that at the time I didn't want to be in, but now I know what to expect next time it comes, if it does, because it will. Recruiting is cyclical, right? It's going to come back. Try to future-proof myself a little bit, be smarter with money, smarter with investments, less willy-nilly with buying shit and, spending money. And I think those are hard lessons to learn, but I learned them.
Did you find that, and this is personal curiosity, because during that time, I found out how important systems and workflows were. So did you take some of that time to refine some of the systems and workflows you had in place for HP?
A little bit. I did a lot of cleaning up. I did a lot of cleaning up of files and riffraff and organizing. I'm very OCD when my computers, like some people, you look at their computer screens, like, how do you find anything there? Like, I'm very backing it up, goes to the Google Drive, especially with the podcast. Everything is systemized. Everything in its right place, right? To quote the great Radiohead, right? Like, everything in its right place needs to be where it needs to be, because it makes it easier for me to find it or to tell somebody where it is. And that's speed and efficiency. If you do it right the first time, it's going to make it a lot easier.
I'll tell you what, man, there's a book that I read right in October. It's from Tiago Forte. It's called The Para Method. And I consider myself a very organized person. I'm a little bit like you, where the OCD comes out and everything has to have its place. When I started implementing the Para Method into my own workflows.
High level.
So it's built off of 4 different buckets, right? So you have projects, areas, resources, and archives. A lot of times we look at those email inboxes with 14,000, red button. Get rid of it, archive it. And start with projects are your most actionable items. So if you have 12 to say 14 projects that are going to move the needle for you right away, set those folders and keep them consistent across everything. If you have Google Drive, you have your inbox and everything, put the same para structure in there. And, our areas are just interests in your life that you're always going to refer back to and collect information on. And then the resources are larger areas. So that's health. something that's always ongoing, but it's not as actionable. I'll tell you, that book changed the game for me because now everything in my life is structured in a power method. And my wife will ask me, where's this? Boom, here you go. Here you go. So I'm a lot like you. But those systems over the last couple months that I really started to put workflows and systems together changed the perspective where I was looking at everything very linear, not realizing that anything I do, whether I'm attracting private recruiting clients or career coaching clients, it has to be three-dimensional. Otherwise, it doesn't work because I'm trying to fit a square peg into a round
you have to think
hole.
it's
doesn't make
chess.
sense.
It's not checkers.
Yeah. Yeah. So you definitely got to check out that book, or anybody for the listeners.
Cool.
Tiago Forte, The Power Method. It's a great, great book if you love organization as much as we do. Well, Adam, man, thank you so much. I really want to drive a lot of business to you because I think you're one of the greats in the industry.
Well, I appreciate that.
And you do it right. And it's hard with so many recruiters and so many career coaches in the industry. Everybody has their own opinions, and I probably don't do it right all the time, but you're someone I really respect. So where can people find you, get in touch with you if you need
hiring? Man, first of all, I appreciate that, and the feeling is mutual. I'm a big believer in collab over compete. I am connected with a lot of recruiters in my industry who recruit for what I do, and we're connected on LinkedIn, and you hold certain cards close to your chest, but at the end of the day, if we're all winning, rising tides lift all ships. I truly believe that. And I also deeply support people who support the industry, who don't shit talk it, who defend us recruiters for what we do and clear the air on what we do and what we don't do and how we can help you and what we're not here to do. Because I think that's another big thing on LinkedIn too. You have to dispel the myths. You have to stand. It's easy to bash on us, but hey, most likely it's a hiring manager's fault. Why are you pointing your finger at me? Look at the hiring manager, right? Like, don't look at me. So we always try to do that. So if you want more of this kind of good stuff, follow me on LinkedIn. I'm Adam J. Posner on LinkedIn, and you can check out the podcast at thepodcast.com. Awesome. And nhptalentgroup.com too. There we go.
Perfect.
That's how we do it.
Right. Well, thanks so much, man. I really appreciate you being on the show, and I'll catch you next time.
Thanks, Chris.